Football season is almost here. Training camp starts this week. Welcome into Bleav in Steelers. I'm Mark Bergin, joined as always by two-time Super Bowl champion Pittsburgh Steelers scout Ike Taylor. IT football right around the corner, and we have a lot to talk about here on today's show.
Nah, it's not right around the corner. It's here.
Yeah.
it is here, literally. I think the first camp started on Saturday, Mark. Still as we report on the 25th. So, football season is here, man.
Yeah, I cannot wait. I was just down in Canton, the site of the Hall of Fame game as well. We'll talk about that here on today's episode of the show. Ike, we talked about your movie career. Dark Knight Rises coming out 12 years ago. We'll get to that. We pay homage to the late Jacoby Jones, but we start with training camp starting this week. Ike, I know you're going down later this week. Were you going down on Tuesday?
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
It's
that's why I say
I can't believe we're already here. Yeah, I can't believe we're already here, man. Like it's just like what happened to the summer.
You gotta look at it like this. Like football is damn near becoming year round, right? So after the football season, you got 7-on-7. Now with that 7-on-7, Mark, you got 9-on-9 football. What I mean by 9-on-9 football, you still in full pads. So in Florida, they still do 9-on-9 football in the off season with pads. So now you're doing 9-on-9 football plus the 7-on-7. Now flag has taken off. NFL is jumping into the flag league. So we're gonna have an Olympic team on what that is, 2028, right? So now we just building more and more when it comes down to football year to year. Then they got a USFL league that we like to watch, 10 to 12 games. That's interesting. That's entertaining. That's exciting. And then you got arena football. So honestly, I'm just a football head, Mark. So honestly, it's like just right for me. And if you want to talk about the other football, we watched the Copa during the summer, and that was very entertaining and exciting. So, I mean, bro, now we right here at training camp. So we right back, and we talking about these 18 games possibly. So we right back into it, Mark. I mean, football is really becoming year round.
Like a lot to unpack there. Let me ask you this, because it's been since we had the legendary Dick LeBeau on the show the last time I talked to you here on the pod. Joe Burrow was mentioning the possibility of adding 2 bye weeks. I'm going to say when, not if the NFL moves to an 18-game regular season. I'd love to get your perspective as a former player.
Nah, Joe smart with it. The NFL want as many games as possible. That the fans want as many games as possible. The networks want as many games as possible. America just in general, when we talk about American football, we just love football. That's pretty much one thing who can pretty much bring us all together in one stadium and everybody be on the same page. And we show our passion for that when it comes down to football. So I think Joe pretty much hit it on the head. You go 18 games, you figure out the 2 bye weeks. You got to give the players 2 bye weeks. I look at it from a safety standpoint with the 2 bye weeks. I don't know if Joe was playing, but I thought that was a great idea what Joe said coming from a former player when it came down to the 2 bye weeks. Figure out what you want to do on the Thursday games. Figure out what you want to do on the Saturday or Sunday games. And that's what it is. And if you're a big time and your team is doing pretty good, you're going to play on Monday Night Football. That's what it is as well. So I think Joe came up with a good idea. I think the NFL would definitely take that into consideration when it comes down to the guys having 2 bye weeks. It just makes sense.
Like when we've had the legendary agent Lee Steinberg on the show, It seems like every year he talks about the top 100 watched broadcasts and how many of those top 100 the NFL occupies. Last year, it was 93 of the top 100 broadcasts were crazy. The NFL.
See, it just makes sense from a lot of different perspectives. You know what I'm saying? So the more the NFL can make off of the broadcasts and the viewerships and the contracts, guess what? The more money the players can make. Yep. That's putting in their pocket. So everybody happy, everybody eating when it comes down to that. And that's what the NFL always has figured out when it came down to networks, broadcasting, streaming. With the Apple, YouTube, Amazon Prime on Thursday, redoing TV deals. So it's a bidding war when it comes down to that bidding side, whether it's NBC, CBS, ESPN, Fox. The NFL just sit back and put their feet up and choose which one's going to bid the highest and pretty much take it from there. And that's how I look at it coming from a player standpoint. So at the same time, though, it's putting more money in the owner's pocket, and the more money the owners get, they get a little bit more happier, and they don't mind distributing money to players they like or players they feel like that's valuable towards their organization. And we seeing these contracts, Mark, and we seeing these contracts. I can only imagine in 2028 what a quarterback contract like a Patrick Mahomes going to look like. I can only imagine in 2027 if a CJ Stroud keep doing what he doing, what his contract going to look like. We talking about $600-700 million. And we've been talking about contracts for the longest. I think I've been saying Michael Parsons is going to be the highest paid defensive player ever for a couple of years now on this podcast, Mark.
And you hit it with Minkah Fitzpatrick too, and that contract extension hit with the Steelers. Like you've been on this from day one on this show.
And you best believe, man, once the moment is happy, and I just saw how we was winning Super Bowls. When we was winning Super Bowls, the owner, the CEO, the president get a little happy. Want to keep everybody around. From the cooks in the kitchen to the secretaries up top to the coaches to the players. Everybody get a little bit of bonus. Some bonuses are bigger than others, but hell, the owners get happy. So that's just what it was when I saw it from afar. But their bonuses now are these TV deals, these contracts, just streaming, the NFL as a whole, just figuring it out, and it's just a win-win for everybody, owners and players.
Hey, let me go here as well. Like the NFL's already gone after Christmas Day, which used to be exclusively for the NBA.
Correct.
Is the NFL going to go for Labor Day now and move up a week? And you've already seen college football move into week 0, the week before Labor Day. But it's always been, hey, Labor Day weekend, the exclusive start of college football. When the NFL moves to 18 games, do they move up a week or do they move back a week at the end of the season? I'm keeping my eyes on that, Ike.
My personal opinion, they're going to keep it real fallish, So they'll rather do it mid-season instead of doing it early in the season. Because think about it, you already got the Hall of Fame game. So the two teams who are playing in the Hall of Fame game, they're already coming in a week earlier than everybody else. You know what I'm saying? So you don't really want to do a week 0. And this is just my opinion. You don't really want to do a week 0. Now, they don't mind deboing other sports when it comes down to football. So yeah, I can see that. I can see that Labor Day action coming into play. Christmas is just gonna be just exciting. Even though we did like watching the NBA on Christmas Day, the NFL, man, they're gonna take over that Christmas Day. And you're right, Mark. If it goes down to these 18 games, you best believe they're shooting for Labor Day. I think you're right on the head with that one.
Ike, speaking of broadcast money, let's pay some bills ourselves as we continue here on the Bleav in Steelers show. Today's episode brought to you by BetOnline.ag, the world's most trusted betting platform and the #1 source for everything online sports betting.
Yeah, 365, 24/7, regardless of what time it is, what sport you're looking at. Make sure y'all go to BetOnline.ag.
Yes, head over to the website today to get in on the action. You can use our promo code Bleav. You can see that on your screen right now. That's BLEAV for your 50% bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. Bet online. The game starts here. Ike, training camp this week with the Steelers. All eyes are going to be on the quarterback position. Where I've come down on this is this. And BetOnline is the presenting sponsor of our show. Week 1 odds of being the starter. Russell Wilson is a -1,000 favorite. So barring injury or just absolutely dreadful performance, he's going to be the Steelers starter week 1. What I'm more curious about is to see how the course of the season unfolds and who's your starting quarterback come week 18 between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. To me, that's the much more intriguing conversation.
Yeah, when it come down to them quarterback battles, you got to tread light. When it come down to the quarterback battles, you got to go with the hot hand. When it come down to the quarterback battles, you got to look at the temperature of the team. When it come down to making them executive decisions, you wouldn't have a better coach than Coach T making them decisions because he knows exactly from the top of that roster to the bottom of that roster, and checking the temperature of the team and seeing how the team is responding to either of his decisions. So I think just overall in general, we got good problems. We got good problems at that quarterback position when it comes down to Russ. You see what Russ brings to the table. Russ brings that professionalism. Russ brings that veteran leadership. Russ brings that command on the huddle. Then when you talk about Justin also having the experience as well. Justin brings that athleticism. Justin brings that professionalism as well. And I think it's just good just looking at just watching how Russ carry himself as a professional, whether it's on or off the field or watching tape or commanding the huddle. So I'm just looking at it like, man, you got two different styles of quarterback when it comes down to Russ and Justin. But by the end of the day, you can win with both of them. It's just what kind of flavor of chicken you like. You like a chicken mild or you like a chicken spicy. That's all it is. But by the end of the day, if it's cooked by a Michelin star chef, it's going to taste good regardless. So I just look at that situation like that when it comes down to that quarterback position.
Like, analogy of the podcast, I'm not even going to try to compete. I'll take some mild chicken, man. That's awesome. That's great. You know how I feel about the quarterbacks. We will talk about this plenty between now and then in the start of the season. And you're paying both players less than $5 million combined. So great problem to have. And that's where I'll leave that. But man, the chicken analogy, I'm not even going to try to fill out the rest of the bracket. That's incredible, my man.
Man, you know, I just be coming off the TOP with it.
Oh, man. I forgot. See, this is the point of the show, full transparency to our listeners and viewers, where there was a point I was going to bring up. Totally gone. We will keep this rolling, though, because, again, we're going to be talking about the quarterbacks between a lot. And here's what I'll say. I remember my point. Regardless of how the training camp plays out, preseason plays out, remember, and I'm stealing this from our good friend Dave Damashek.
Okay.
Preseason action in terms of what happens in the performance is irrelevant when it comes to the regular season. It's good to get some reps and the game speed and all of that. But remember, just last year is a prime example of that, where with Kenny Pickett, you had 5 drives, 5 touchdowns for the Steelers. And that did not translate over into the regular season at all. So the analogy he always makes is it's like a war reenactment. I just want to remind people when we have reaction shows and it's like, oh, the Steelers looked great or the Steelers looked terrible or whatever. The big thing for the Steelers for me is getting into the regular season healthy. That's going to be the big thing for me. And there has to be a progression. Like you always tell me, where are you at after a quarter of the season? Where are you at for the half? And you evaluate it in 4-game chunks. Just want to remind our listeners and viewers of that. If we're really excited with this new offense, Arthur Smith, the quarterbacks, but just remember, it's going to take time. Don't lose your mind over anything that happens in the preseason specifically either.
Yeah, I mean, from a fan perspective, though, Mark, you know the fans, they're going to over-exaggerate. They're going to already have what the season's supposed to be.
I was so hyped last year, Ike. I was so hyped where it's like, this is it. This is going to be the Matt Canada offense. 5 drives, 5 touchdowns. I was over the moon last year.
Yeah, but at the same time, you know, you got a veteran OC. What I do know about Coach OC Arthur Smith, what he did with the Tennessee Titans when Ryan Tannehill was going to Pro Bowls and he was having his best seasons. What I do know when King Henry, when he had Coach Arthur Smith as an OC, when he was running for damn near 2,000 yards, having his best seasons. What I did know, Delaney Walker, the tight end from the Tennessee Titans, when he had his best years was Coach Arthur Smith when he was the OC. So what I do know, his style, his play, when it comes down to his mind of getting guys the ball, I mean, he had Corey Davis and he had A.J. Brown too as well. Them two boys had a heck of a season. I think people forgot A.J. Brown and Corey Davis was sitting over there with the Tennessee Titans at the time. So you get a man 2 thick receivers, you give him a tight end who can be a vertical threat, you give him a running back, and you give him a quarterback, he's gonna know exactly what to do with it. So that's how I look at it when it comes down to Coach Arthur Smith being OC now as a head coach. Coach Arthur Smith did draft well on offense, you know. So look at what he did with Atlanta. on the offensive side. Atlanta has something to work with Coach Raheem Brown this year when it comes down to the players that
Raheem
not only
Morris.
Raheem Morris, I'm saying Raheem Morris, not only what Coach Arthur Smith had drafted when it came down to the offensive side when he was there, but at the same time, Coach Raheem Morris putting a little spice on his draft picks when it came down to the offensive side too as well. So it's going to be interesting. And of course, you get in the trade. You get in a trade with the quarterback. I'm drawing a blank from Minnesota.
Kirk Cousins.
You get in a trade with a veteran quarterback, but you also got a young stud in Penix coming from Washington. So it's a good mix over there. But I tilt my hat off to Coach Arthur Smith and what he did in this couple of years. But I saw what he did when he was the OC with the Tennessee Titans. I saw the Tennessee Titans have their best years. I saw the Tennessee Titans look like the old Pittsburgh Steelers at one point in time on the offensive side. And I'm just glad that we have him on our staff. So I know exactly, I see exactly what he's bringing to the table when it comes down to the AFC North kind of football.
I could ask you all about position group battles. I mean, obviously the quarterback's going to be a big focus. I mean, I look at who's receiver 2 behind George Pickens, who's your slot corner. What are your plans? Obviously, Patrick Peterson will be one of the starting inside linebackers. Who's the other one that complements him? But what I want to ask you is when you're boots on the grounds in Latrobe at training camp and the Steelers are relying on your eyes and ears, what are the things that you're looking at? What are some of the responsibilities that you have in your scouting capacity in that you'll be boots on the ground at training camp?
Man, I'm just looking at the temperature of the roster. What I mean by the temperature of the roster, Mark, is I'm looking at guys who we were projected to be in a position and they wind up inclining or declining, depending on, when we put them pads on at training camp. I'm looking at a lot of third down situations. So I'm looking at how guys respond in third down situations. When he called nickel, when he called dime, who's going to be the number 3 receiver? If we have 2 tight ends, if we have a fullback and a running back in the backfield. I'm looking at all that on a third down situation. I'm also looking at, day 3 or 4, when you put the pads on and it's that dog day, where your body's saying, man, my legs are super heavy. It's hot outside. But your mind saying, man, this is football. You wouldn't want to be in any other position. But now I'm looking at them guys who pretty much highlight themselves on them dog days and guys who just trying to get during the day. So I'm looking at also, you can have some nicks and injuries as well. Not nothing major, but you're gonna be nicked up. Soon as that first day pass come on, you're never 100% healthy again, Mark. I'm looking at how guys play through them injuries. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the energy of certain guys. I'm looking at guys who was rookie last year coming to their second season, the progressions they made. I'm looking at guys who are veteran guys who still wants to show they're in their prime and they got a lot of juice left in their tank. So that's when I'm going there, Mark. That's what I look at from my perspective, in my opinion. So I really just turn into a player, but I just use my eyes for the scouting department and just put my 2 cents in whatever I feel like that should be needed and what I see.
I cannot wait to talk to you after you get back, because each year you point someone out, and it's been George Pickens in the past. It's been Jaylen Warren. I remember you were telling us about Jaylen Warren as an undrafted rookie, and you were like, that's going to be the guy. That's going to be your number 2 receiver. And you outlined all the reasons why.
Number 2 running back.
Yeah. And you're like, well, okay. Whoever that player is this year, I cannot wait to talk to you about. We could make guesses on who that's going to be.
Right.
A name I'll throw out there. I'm really bullish on Keanu Benton this year. I cannot wait to see what he does in an expanded role as he ascends for the Steelers. And I mean, that's just one of many players I could list off. But to talk to you about, hey, here's the guy who really stuck out at training camp, you get just such a unique perspective of, hey, you're not just in the stands, but you're down on the field with the players and coaches interacting with the black and gold. I can't wait to talk to you about that, man. It excites me.
This is my best time of the year. Like, I look forward into going to training camp. Honestly, you
love the draft too, though, my friend.
I love the draft, but training camp is so therapeutic for me. I mean, you lose track of time. You lose track of the days. All you know is 24/7 football. That's all you know. You just know you wake up at a certain time, you go to bed at a certain time. You rarely get to talk to anybody. You just 100% in on football. That's what I love about training camp. I spend my most time talking to the coaches and seeing what they like at training camp because that's all we're doing. I spend a lot of time talking to the players after practice at training camp, try to pick their brain, see what they're doing. So this is for me. I see what you're saying when it comes down to evaluating players coming out of college, Mark. But for me, I feel like this is where I make my money. This when I get a head start on a lot of people. Especially when it comes down to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I really get to sit in tune, and players get a little bit more comfortable with you because they ain't got to worry about the outside noise, family and friends, because we all there together. So you get to talk about whether it's personal problems or goals they have in the NFL and things they want to do. From a coach's standpoint, I get to know the coaches a little bit better because they have some time to sit down and do their game plan. So I get to pick their brain, talk about their personal lives, what they got going on, and what we need to do and their goals. And, I just try to keep the relationship. I get to talk to Coach T a lot. I think I picked Coach T brain more this offseason and everything because I like to see how he like to run things. I know for sure I'm going to be talking to Coach Arthur Smith too as well. TA, the DC, I like to pick his brain and see what he like to do. So for me, as an individual, I like to pick everybody's brain. I like to pick Omar brain. I like to pick Mr. Art brain just to see what he's thinking. I like to get a feel for him too as well. So I'm just a little bit everywhere. Like this is my time. That's why I like training camp as well, man. So I get to talk to all these people because we're just in an environment where we really just all we got is us. Ain't no outside noise. So
Ike, we've had a lot of your former teammates on. We just had Dick LeBeau on a few weeks back. And
right.
You have to be maybe the only person affiliated with the NFL. I have never heard you once speak poorly about training camp because I know it can be absolutely brutal. It can be very, very intense. And I don't know if that goes into your preparation, but perhaps more your mindset of I've heard other pros where it's like training camp was my least favorite time. I have never heard you once say anything bad or negative about training camp in our 5 years of doing the show.
That's what a bond at. That's what we bonded in training camp. When we was winning Super Bowls, I really believe. Well, that's how I really believe. I know everything started at training camp, from the offensive coordinators to the defensive coordinators. Competing with each other on who's going to score on goal line in the red zone, and who's not going to score. From the players talking smack, and we're competing with each other on who's not going to get in and who's going to get in. Even on off the field, I think at the time they had FIFA tournament going on in the dormitory, and we set a board up, and it was going from football to football, and we was talking about that on the field. We used to sit and have meetings. I think Call of Duty came out too as well, and we was having Call of Duty tournaments. So it's the relationships, it's the bond, it's the offensive lineman that wouldn't really talk to a defensive back, and you wind up talking to that defensive back and hanging out with him because he liked to play PS5 too as well. He liked Call of Duty as well. So it's a different kind of bond. It's a different kind of relationship. We doing tournaments, so we just knew overall in general, like, man, that was the bonding time. When it came down to, I never looked at training camp as dog days or drag days. Now, did we have them dog days or drag days? Yes. But I tell people all the time, and my former teammates to say the same thing. Training camp was harder than games. We laid down the foundation. We as players laid down the foundation. Was like, what? Training camp gonna be way harder than the games we play. And we just carry that over throughout the course of the season. Sometimes it got a little chippy in training camp, but that's just what it is, man. You got a lot of guys with a lot of goals, grown men trying to make this roster. Some guys is rookies, they nervous, they just trying to navigate their way through and see how you do things. Some guys 3 and 4 years in the league, they trying to put a stamp on their name and hitting their prime. Some guys in their prime trying to let everybody know what's going on, and some veteran guys who people might think they might not have nothing left in the tank. They trying to show everybody they have something left in the tank. So you get a lot of different personalities in that locker room, Mark, for training camp. And that's what I love about training camp. But one thing we did do in training camp, we loved each other, and we was hard on each other, and we was honest with each other. That's what I loved about the Pittsburgh Steelers. So if you had thin skin in our locker room, man, you wasn't gonna make it, and that was gonna be shown in a couple of days, So, and we look at it as, man, like, don't hide nothing from me, man. Tell me the truth, whether it was personal or whether it was on the field. I remember Coach Mitch. He used to be mad at me if I let somebody catch a pass on me in practice. I'm like, dang, Coach Mitch, like, he just caught a pass. Coach Mitch said, I'm looking at you differently. I'm looking at you as being a lockdown corner. You can't even see it in yourself. I'm looking at your mindset. I'm looking at your athletic ability. You shouldn't want nobody to catch a pass on you. And once he sat down and told me that, I said, dang, Coach Mitch, he's a Hall of Fame defensive lineman. He's a pioneer coming from the Bear Bryant. He forgot more football than I ever knew. So once he told me that, I said, you know what? This is what I'm doing. Yep. Coach Dick LeBeau, with his calm, soft voice, he didn't have to yell or anything. You just know he knew more football that you'll ever know. So that's how I looked at it, man. So we were just so competitive, Mark, in training camp. I never looked at training camp like, I always looked at training camp like, man, we building that personality. And I think all of my teammates looked at training camp like we building. Whether somebody was going to propose to their fiance or their girlfriend, whether somebody was having a kid, whether somebody was working on contracts, trying to get into training camp. It was just all different scenarios and cases in training camp that we went through with each other, but we always had each other back. So training camp for me is always special, because I feel like, man, that's when it's just you versus the world. And we was talking about with Pittsburgh before these shirts even came out, blase versus everybody. That's how we felt from an organizational standpoint. But it all started from training camp.
Yeah, and that's Coach John Mitchell, coached with the Steelers from 94 to 2022, just for our listeners and viewers, and a lot of high-profile stops before that, obviously, coming out of Alabama. Ike, an absolute legend in the football world. Ike, we have to change gears here a little bit. Pay homage to someone you went to high school with, Jacoby Jones, dead at the age of 40. I know this is someone you were close with, you competed against. He joined the Steelers the year after you retired, Ike, in 2015, but an absolutely electric performer, someone whose dance moves I remember as a receiver for the Ravens on a lot of big returns. And remember, he was also the guy that Mike Tomlin tripped as well. He's the guy that scored the deep touchdown pass in the playoffs against the Broncos. But I want to pay homage to someone, Ike, that I know you were very close with.
Yeah, Jacoby, man, Abramson, Commodore alum, along with myself,
New Orleans,
Louisiana. Two guys went to the same high school, both have Super Bowls in the NFL, and that's hard. So Jacoby was just very electric. What I mean by electric, Mark, he didn't need an entourage. He was the entourage. He walked into any party by himself. He walked into any building by himself, and he was going to get whatever popping. That was Jacoby. Jacoby is a New Orleans bred, a New Orleans guy all day. When you think of somebody who's from New Orleans, and we call it the city, you think of Jacoby. You think of them heavy accents. You think of Jacoby. You think of smiling every day. You don't know what he got going on. You think of Jacoby. You think of somebody who's always positive. You think of Jacoby. If you need to play on the field, and we all saw this numerous of times, you think of Jacoby. So Jacoby was just one of them humans where he was just always full of life, So just looking at the pictures, looking at everybody post Jacoby, and want nothing but a big ass smile. That's all you saw when you saw Jacoby in a picture, a big ass smile, and that was Jacoby. It was just sad to see him lose his life so young at the age of 40. So maybe God had a different plan. Maybe God wanted an angel. Maybe he wanted him to come up right quick and be one of the angels for him. That's how I look at it. But in New Orleans, man, we celebrate death. Some call it second line. So I know a lot of people mourn, and it is times where you do need to mourn, especially when it comes down to death. But we do celebrate it as well. We like to send our people home and happy. And we do them second line in the parades when it comes down to them funerals. So I mean, but Jacoby getting drafted by the Houston Texans, then wind up doing a stint with the Baltimore Ravens, and us having him for a year. I mean, if you just look at that Super Bowl game, man, you go back home to the city, and the first thing you do is take a kickoff return back to the crib. And what a way to not even just bring in the city that you're from, but on that kind of stage, man, on that Super Bowl stage where the whole world is watching, you showing out and you showing off, and you get to do what you do best, and that's play football and give me a dance. And that was Jacoby. So I just left the city yesterday. Some of the alumni from Abramson, we all just want to do something and talk about some things. I've seen some people I haven't seen since 1998, Mark. But that was all because of Jacoby. So that's just what it was. But Jacoby, man, he was just full of life. Full of life.
Like, you were 3 years ahead of him at Abramson?
Yes.
At what point did you realize he would be special? Just because
I want to say I was, Mark, to be honest, I want to say I was 4 or 5 years ahead of Jacoby.
Okay.
But everybody
at what point did you realize he was special? Like,
I'm always be biased towards people from New Orleans, let alone my college. It was unorthodox in his running style. Jacoby ran routes like you run them on a park. It wasn't no technician. It's like, dang, this dude looks sloppy on running these routes, but he's always getting over or running past people. And that's just what it was. Jacoby route running reminded me of Mike Wallace route running. Unorthodox, but he wide ass open damn near every time, and that was Jacoby.
Like, a fitting tribute to someone you grew up with, and R.I.P. Jacoby Jones, the age of 40. We're gonna skirt again and change gears here. Like, I can't go my voice doesn't go up to that octave. Dark Knight Rises came out 12 years ago, and you're like, what is this about, Mark? It's the summertime. The Gotham Rogues, aka the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we've never talked about this on the pod. During the filming with Christopher Nolan, there's a picture, and I couldn't find it for the show. I did my best. You're literally standing next to Big Ben 7, Ben Roethlisberger. But come movie time, you're not in the movie. What?
Yeah, they come out.
What are they thinking? Like, can we have a revisionist history? If we could go back in time, Christopher Nolan, get my guy Ike Taylor in Dark Knight Rises. What are we doing here?
Hey, Chris, I ain't gonna blame Chris. I'm gonna blame Todd Thomas. I'm gonna blame TT. TT, you did me wrong. Told you did your boy wrong. Because we did that in training camp. So we left training camp for half a day, got on the bus, shot down to Heinz Field at the time. Shot down, it's not Acrisure Stadium. Shot down to Heinz Field. I'm thinking, I said, man, I'm about to be in a movie, boy. Calling my mama, calling my homeboy. I said, man, we about to be in this movie. What I need to say? He said, you don't need to say nothing. You just need to stand there and just hold your shoulder pads like that. Get down there, do all that, see the movie come out. I said, damn, why I can't? I said, look at this. Look how they do. Look how they do your boy. Now, Big O, who's now the general manager, Omar Khan, he's in there. 7, Big Ben. He's in there. Hines, he's in there. It's a couple of them. Oh, Brett Kiesel, Big Keys, he up in there.
Mike Wallace
up in there. I said, you know what? I guess I wasn't that important.
But I swear to you, like, the picture exists where you're literally standing next to Ben Roethlisberger. You know he's going to be in it. He's the star quarterback of the team.
I got to stand right next to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, if anybody going to be in there, it's going to be 7. So I'm standing right next to 7, like, for sure. You know what? They say, cut him out. Cut his ass.
Man. It's just... it's brutal. And that had to have been filmed in the summer of 2011, the year before it came out. Bill Cowher also coming back, because I know at that point Mike Tomlin was the head coach. But the Gotham Rogues, Question I wanted to ask you is Hines Ward does the kickoff return before Bane blows up the field in the movie. How did you decide that Hines was going to be the guy doing the return?
I ain't decided, man. Them billionaires making money. Shit, they had choosing. They pick what they want to pick. If they want to pick you, ain't nothing I can say about it.
Yeah.
Mark, them people got all kinds of money. But Hines was a fan favorite.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, Hines was a fan favorite. Pittsburgh's still a legend. Shout out to Hines, man. Y'all taking too long to get my dog in the Hall of Fame too, as well.
Yep.
But I ain't tripping. 7 about to slide up in there. 7 gonna be up in there. Hines gonna be up in there.
James Harrison
gonna be up in there. Y'all taking y'all time too with Joey Porter too, as well. Troy already slid up in there. Marquise
Pouncey Greenwood from the 70s.
Greenwood.
Hang on. I found this out recently.
Talk to me.
4-time Super Bowl champion. He had a Super Bowl where he had 4 sacks.
Right.
You get 4 sacks in a game, you're not losing the game.
No, you ain't losing the game.
Second most sacks in a Super Bowl of all time. Nah, we don't have room for him in the Pro Football.
The problem is they figure we got too many already up in there. And then what I tell people all the time, y'all can't get mad because the Pittsburgh Steelers know how to draft.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, right?
Yeah. Ike, so really quickly with the Dark Knight Rises filming, did they just have other actors you went against for the opposing team? Do you remember how that played out during the kickoff return?
It wasn't even a kickoff return for me, man. It was just standing by 7. Man, I ain't want to do none of that. I'm thinking in my head, you know me, I'm thinking business. I'm thinking in my head, like, look here. Well, all I need to be is close. Whatever 7 doing, I'm doing. I don't care what y'all don't. Whatever 7 doing, if wherever 7 at, that's why. If 7 go get a drink of water, guess why he going to do it? Get a drink of water. If 7 say hut, guess why he going to say hut? Right behind him. So it didn't even matter what 7 was doing, man. I'm following 7 all day because I know by the end of the day, or at least I thought by the end of the day, if you was anywhere near 7 was going to get you on the tube.
I went through the IMDb credits too, Ike, and it's just like everyone else gets the credits. And it's like there's that picture of you're literally standing next to Ben Roethlisberger, and the camera starts to pan horizontally, and it just goes in the opposite direction. It's just like start over. If it would have been like one more frame, your boy would have been in a summer blockbuster, The Dark Knight Rises. But
man, that was a blockbuster movie too.
Oh yeah, that whole trilogy was just fantastic. Ike, we were talking about the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I was just there over the weekend.
Talk to me about it.
It is something that all football fans should do. We went for my dad's 70th birthday. My brother and I wanted to do something special for him. He turned 70 in November, so it's like, what's a weekend we can all get together? So we went down to Canton. And Ike, this is something that if you are a football fan in any capacity, you have to attend. It was my first time. A lot of really cool artifacts, but perhaps the coolest part, Ike, was at the end of the tour, they had a bunch of the different Super Bowl rings from each year.
Ooh, look at my dog rocking that down Swagger U t-shirt. You heard me? I see you, Mark.
Yeah. They had 2 Super Bowl rings. Like, you know, I grew up in the Chicago suburbs.
Mark, it's like you've been doing a lot of push-ups and bench press. A little neck work,
too. Summertime, man. It's the summertime. So they had a replica of Walter Payton's Super Bowl 20 ring, which my brother got to wear. And we grew up Bears fans, so so cool to see that. And then they had a replica of Dan Rooney's Super Bowl 43 ring, Ike. And I got to put it on and wear it. And that was just really, really special for me. That was really cool. They had a lot of great video presentations. One of my favorite parts as well is they had this video monitor, Ike, where you could look up any team from any year in the history of the league. So I looked up your Steelers teams from when you played from 03 to 14. And then the last year that you played in 2014, here you are, number 24, Ike Taylor, standing next to Dan Rooney. And Ike, that's not something you see every day where you're standing next to the chairman of a team. I would reckon that that's never even happened in league history. And I saw this picture and I sent it to you. It was really special, man.
No, that was Paul Rooney, man. Listen, a relationship and a bond like no other. You know what I'm saying? Like that, me and Paul, you really can't explain it. People in the building saw it. My teammates saw it. The coaching staff saw it. His family loved me. I love his family. That's just what it is, man. You really can't. You have no words to describe our relationship. Papa Rooney just took a liking to old Ike Taylor. He really did, like a genuine, like this is my son kind of liking Mark. He's one of not only is he part of this franchise and this organization, he really is a Rooney. And you know what? I took that to heart and I ran with it. And I treated Rooney's as my family. That's just what it is. You know, I was talking to Dan, one of the scouts, Dan Rooney. I'm like, bro, I'm really considering hyphenating my name into Rooney Taylor. Like, what you think? He was like, all right. I said, nah, I'm serious. I'm serious about this. He was like, I know. He said, you know, we look at you as family. You one of my brothers. I said, all right, then say less.
Yeah, you see a lot of great photos. I've never seen anything like this in a team photo. And I had to do a double take at first. And I'm like, is this actually what I'm seeing? But a lot of the artifacts that they have there, I'll toggle through some pictures. You get Bradshaw. They've got a case for Big Ben. Next to Big Ben, I believe those are Jack Lambert's cleats, Mel Blount, just a lot of the names of a who's who of football.
Legends.
The busts were obviously incredible. I can't get this center.
TP.
You got Troy, Bill Cowher, Dick LeBeau as
Alan
well.
Faneca.
This was my favorite, though, too. We had Jerome Bettis, the World Championship Crunch from Jerome Bettis. I took a picture of that. But the most incredible thing that I found, Ike, is we talked to one of the workers there. Everything that's on display in Canton at the Pro Football Hall of Fame is 1% of all of the artifacts that they have throughout the history of pro football. So what you're seeing displayed is 1% of the entire collection that they have. They swap things out periodically through the years. They get more and more things, but they have to keep a lot in storage just because there's so much that they can't show. When they said that to me and just the scale of that, like I said, I had never seen it before. Any football fan should take the pilgrimage out to Canton, Ohio. It was absolutely special. And to get to share that with my brother and my dad, the reason I'm even a sports fan in the first place, both of them, just a great bonding experience together as a family.
Nah, y'all football heads. And I'm glad that was a good experience for y'all. I'm glad y'all got to do that with Pops too as well. So, I mean, them guy trips be a little bit different. And y'all got trip, especially the experience was Pop. I'm sure that was memorable, and Pop's gonna always remember that. Y'all too, as well. Just getting a piece of not only Steelers history, but just football history as itself. I know you being close to Chicago at the same time, KC fans at the same time. I'm kind of turning you into a Pittsburgh Steelers fan as well. So,
kind of.
You know what I'm saying? So that's three different teams. KC, we all see what KC is doing in this dynasty. They doing their damn thing. We're trying to get back on the road as well on doing our thing. Before during the 70s, the 90s, and the early 2000s, and Chicago just drafted it. Who they think their future franchise quarterback is, and Caleb Williams. So that's some three historical. Right now, historical. KC is becoming historical, especially with Patrick Mahomes and Coach Andy Reid is doing. Well, between Pittsburgh and the Chicago Bears, it's a lot of good history. But just to go down and see just the NFL history as a whole, I'm sure that was a good experience for all three of y'all.
Yeah, the artifacts they had Caleb Williams' draft card. They had the draft cards for, I think it was like the top 10, maybe the top 15 picks. And one of those guys is going to be a Hall of Fame player. I'd bet any amount of money on that with all the quarterbacks that were taken, Marvin Harrison Jr. So it's an amazing blend of how the league was founded all the way up until now. And then when we see the presentation in this coming week of, this coming class, the 2024 class, it's something, like I said, all football fans should take the time to do, just because you learn about the history of the game and the forefathers and the people that came before you to where it's reached the point where it's now. It's funny because for the longest it was like baseball's America's game. Football right now, I haven't been this pumped for a football season it's been a long time for all the teams that I root for, the Steelers included. Can't wait to see how it all unfolds, and just to learn about a part of history. Like I said, it's a terrific museum. Pro Football Hall of Fame is just fantastic.
If you're in the sports and you're from America, I think we all can agree, like, football is just America's sport, and this is not knocking any other sports, but football have all kinds of people, regardless of your color or religion or your political views. Football has a way of just bonding everybody, whether it's stadiums, whether it's tailgating, whether it's family gatherings. That's just what football does to America. So us as players see that as well, too. So we take pride in that, too.
IT, I wish safe travels to you to training camp this week. Can't wait to talk to you here in the coming weeks about what you see while you're down there. Safe travels to Latrobe St. Vincent College. I can't believe it's already here.
Already here, bro.
Want to wish you the absolute best. I want to thank today's presenting sponsor, BetOnline.ag. Check out the Bleav Network. Thanks to them. And then Apple and Spotify, 5 stars and 5 stars only on YouTube. Please hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, make sure y'all give us that 5-piece, regardless on what network we on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Make sure y'all just put that 5 in that thing.
For Ike Taylor, I'm Mark Bergin. Thanks for watching the Bleav in Steelers show. We'll see you next time. Until then, take care and so long, everybody.
Peace. This way.